Hey YouTube, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Taicho, and that's my Dark Lord X. Join us as we look to conquer the internet. I just want to add this quick clip in. I don't know what happened, but my camera wasn't recording like it was supposed to when I was doing the demo for our Saga dashboard. So unfortunately this is kind of only going to be demo based. You won't have to see my wanted poster over in the corner. It's just going to be the SQL demo and the Power BI demo. And when I was doing the demo, I'm not sure what happened, but Power BI just kind of closed, so there's going to be a little bit of a weird transition when I first start building the dashboard for the header and stuff like that. But all else, everything should work out fine. If you're enjoying the content in the series, please subscribe to the channel for more videos. Let me know your thoughts on everything so far. But thank you, and back to our regularly scheduled program. Hey YouTube, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Taicho, and that's my Dark Lord X. Join us as we continue our quest to take over the internet. So we're just going to jump right into it, pick up where we last left off. If you've been following the series or you're new to the series, essentially we've been working to web scrape some Saga data from the One Piece wiki fandom. You can see that table here, and what I thought would be a good next step, and also a break from all the Python data engineering, would be to actually work towards some analysis and insights, and that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to break this video up into two parts essentially. The first part, hopefully we can get through rather quickly. We're going to do a little bit of data prep, not too much work, but a little bit of prep in SQL Server, and then from there we're going to use Power BI and create a little report or dashboard, if you will, and hopefully glean some insight from the Saga data. And while I'm doing that, my Dark Lord X, he's going to be going and checking those artifacts to see if we have anything interesting. And he's actually getting to one right now, which is pretty cool. So we can see now that we have SQL Dark Chip, so he'll be able to help us kind of run through this code a little bit quicker. Back to the script. So what I have here is the table with the columns. I did a pretty basic select star, so we have the name, link, and then various details on the volume, chapter, episode, and some date information. For this analysis, I'm not going to focus too much on episode data. I realized as I was working through there were some inconsistencies, so we're not going to focus too much on that. But basically what we want to do for this data prep, and you can see in these last two columns here, One Country and Final Saga, because they're ongoing in the anime and episode, we have a couple blanks and incomplete information. So we want to just kind of clean that up pretty quickly. And the way we could do that is we're going to focus on a couple functions in SQL and a couple expressions. Well, one expression. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a common table expression. That'll allow us to create like a little temporary table that is run in the query, and then we're going to use case statements to clean up these nulls, and then we're going to use the concact function to bring it all together. So we have our name and we have our link, which is pretty clean in terms of data format. The first thing we want to address is the volume details. So in the volume info for Final Saga, we see it just says 105. I think it's actually at 106, so we're going to plug that in. And then we want to add a volume n. So X, if you could just run a quick script using the case statement to add the additional information here and clean up this null. Awesome. So he's run that, and this is essentially what it's going to look like. So we don't need to do anything for volume start since that's pretty clean, but we're going to use this case statement here. So case when, and I always use trim just in case there's white space, but when the name of the saga is Final Saga, then we want to plug in this string 105 to 106. Otherwise, keep the column as it is, and then we'll end it calling it volume information. And then what we also want to do for the volume end is here. So we're going to do the same format when it's Final Saga, plug in 106. That'll fill up the the blank cell here. And then let's see, we should be able to run this and be good. Cool. So that gives us some cleaner cells down there for the Final Saga. And now we're essentially going to do the same thing for the chapter info, episode info, as well as the date info. So X, if you could just provide us the script for the chapter info now. Alright. So that's there. And it's going to be the same structure, so we don't really need to do much. Basically, we're just kind of changing the columns that we're addressing and the inputs that we're using. So here we're just, for the chapter info, Final Saga, Egghead Arc, it's been pretty amazing. Here are the details, we're up to chapter 1086. So we want to plug that in there for the info and the chapter end. And if you could do the same script for the episode X, that'd be great. Awesome. So for episode info, we're going to have a little bit more details to fill in. So we could see here, it's still ongoing in Wano, so it doesn't have an end. So we want to address both Wano and the Final Saga nulls. And we do that by putting basically two conditions, or evaluating two conditions. When the name is Wano Country, then we want to use this, and then when the name is Final Saga, we want to leave it null because we don't have any episodes for that. Otherwise, just keep it as it is. And then we want to do the same thing for the episode end, and we can leave it null for start since we don't have anything there. So we should be able to run that, and let's see what we have. Cool, so we have our volume info here, chapter info is filled in, episode for info for Wano Saga has been filled in, and so is the episode info here. So I'm actually going to use the episode, put a null for the episode start as well. Okay, so that'll give us a 0, 0. And now we'll just do the date information. We're going to fill in the date information pretty quickly. So this will be a little bit different, but X, if you could give us the script for the date info, that'd be great. Basically what we want to do is fill the episode date for Wano Country, put the years in there, and then put the nulls, and then also because nothing's there for Final Saga, we'll pretty much leave it blank. Awesome. Thank you, X. So I'm just going to cut all those. Cool. So now we have all of our data pretty much prepped. All it took was a bunch of different case statements to plug in, the different values, whether it's the volume start, the chapter start, episode start, stuff like that. If you have any questions on what I'm doing with the case statement, basically it's the if statement in Excel. You just put in your criteria. If it fulfills that criteria, then you tell it what to do. We're just inputting a different variable. Sometimes we're using characters, sometimes we're using integers. But yeah. Cool. Okay, so this gets our base table, but I do want to add some columns, and that's where the common table expression is going to come into play. So I'm just going to do this with clause as with Saga 00 as here. And what this will do is, like I said, create a temporary table, essentially, that allows us to select from. So X, if you could just give us a script that we used last time to create the counts, aggregate count, and a date range. Awesome. So we have our table up there, and then what we could do is select. So we're selecting from Saga all of the columns, and then we want to create these extra columns, these counts, as well as a date range. Let's put this back up here. This will give us our final table. Sweet. So we have our extra columns over here: chapter count, volume count, episode count. Again, we're going to disregard episode count, but it's nice to have it clean and full. And these will be some of the metrics that we work with in our dashboard. So now that we have our query, what we're going to do is jump over to Power BI now, and we're going to get some data. I'm going to, let's see, SQL Server database. Now we're going to put the server name in. And I'm going to grab from the One Piece database that we created in our prior video. And what we're going to do is paste the query that we had, that we just wrote. Here. And let's see if this works. Okay, so here's our data imported into Power BI. We don't have to do any crazy transformations. Full disclosure, I've used Power BI like 2 or 3 times before, so I'm not super versed with it. So what we're going to do is pretty much keep this dashboard and this report fairly straightforward. So our data is over here as query 1. I'm just going to rename that to Sagas. Now the first thing I want to do, I want to give it a nice little header. So to do that, I believe we add a text box over here. I'm going to make it big, put it up here, and I'm just going to call it, let's make this a little bit bigger. Change the font to Georgia, nice and pretty. Center align it. Let's just call this One Piece Sagas. Change. One Piece Saga metrics. Alright, cool. Now if we can add a little background color, give it a little bit of pizzazz. Maybe we want to change this font color. Make that, come on. Make that way so it sticks out a little bit more. Nice. Now we have we have a header. We're looking good so far. And like I said, we're gonna keep this report pretty simple and straightforward. Only a couple of visuals I think are necessary, especially considering we only have like 15 rows of data, so can't really get too complicated. But the first thing I think would be cool to create is, if we ask ourselves a question, what does the chronological structure of One Piece look like? What arcs are there? What's their weights? We can probably answer fairly quickly with a donut chart. And if we put the chapter count in there, let's see. Now we're gonna have to put the name as well, so that we get a volume. Cool. Alright. So we have our first visual here. Looks pretty solid. I'm going to change the name to Saga Chapter. gonna add a few aesthetics real quick. Cool. Alright, so this is our first visual. We have the Saga count. We have a nice little donut chart, so we'll put that up there. And right off the bat, you kind of have a little bit of context. Wano Country accounts for about 14% of the whole One Piece series, which is pretty wild, with 149 chapters. So that's pretty a big chunk. And then Dressrosa is about the same, 14%. So you have a third, almost a third of the story with just 2 arcs, all coming post time skip. So that's pretty cool. I just want to add a little bit more details here. So if we look for date range, we should be able to put that in the tooltip. And let's see what that does for us. So we have our count, date range, 2018 to 22, 2015 to 2012 to 2015 for Dressrosa, 2003 to 2007 for Water 7. So that's pretty beefy. And let's see if we can add a little bit more. Where's chapter? Start. So we'll put chapter start here. Let's put the chapter in. And don't think we want to sell this. Okay, so that still works. So now we have some more details. We have a nice tooltip that gives us the name of the saga, how many chapters, its date range, somewhat of a date range in year, and then the start and the end. So that's a great first kind of composition visual. We have a good idea of what the structure is, and we're just going to add one more simple like bar chart to get a little bit better, easier intuitiveness in terms of which sagas have the most weight. So I think we click here. Let's see. Let's do a clustered bar chart. I don't think we can cluster. Let's see. And then the name. It's pretty much the same thing. I did this wrong. So we'll call this chapter count. And that's name. We'll rename this to Saga. So chapter count by Saga. Make this a little bit bigger. So you kind of have a little bit easier comparison. Same kind of order, but almost every saga has more than 50 chapters. Final Saga going on right now, the shortest. Thriller Bark Saga, pretty much almost like a transitionary saga in a sense. Fishman Island, first post time skip saga. Sky Island Saga, really where like a lot of the heart of the story kind of develops. Nico Robin just doing cool stuff right after she joins the crew. Breaking bones. Reading poneglyph symbols and stuff. She's great. East Blue Saga, really the foundation for the story in terms of setting up the characters, giving them personalities, really going on the adventure part. This aspect I think embodies the pirate crewness of One Piece really well, because you have Nami as a navigator, Captain Amonkey D, Goofy, Usopp the coward, he's great. Drum Island, really forgettable, but you had to get a doctor and stuff like that. But yeah, so here we have the saga counts. Let me know in your comments what your favorite saga was. If you think some of these were too long, some of these were too short, let me know. Okay, cool. So now we're just gonna, add some aesthetics to this again. Let's see. So I'm just gonna make this black. So there we go. We have two pretty solid visuals. I'm gonna stretch this out just to make it a little bit more. I will leave this here. And now I just want to add like a couple quick summary stats in the side so we get an overall idea of what your typical Saga might look like. So I'm just going to add a card here. And what I'll do is, let's put the volume count and we'll put the chapter count. What I want. Okay, so we'll do totals here. We'll fix that aesthetic. And I want to get one more card. I'm going to put the same things, but instead of the sums, we'll use the average. Sweet. So we have 116 volumes, 1086 chapters. We'll fix this unit, and then average volume count, average chapter count. So about 11 volumes per saga, which translate to almost 100 volumes. 100 chapters per saga. So that's pretty cool. Now let's just do like this search function here. Makes it pretty easy. Okay. Just cleaning up some of the aesthetics. Now we have a pretty decent dashboard. Took us 15 minutes to not even clean up the SQL query, and then from there we imported the data. We have a pretty good idea of what the One Piece Saga structure looks like. You know, we can tell Wano Saga, Dressrosa, Water 7. These 3 chapter sagas alone account for 40% of the whole series. Add in Alabasta, so 4 sagas out of the 11 account for roughly half the series. On average, every saga has about 11 volumes, and every saga has about 100 chapters. So that's pretty telling information. Let me fix this thing. Started in One Piece, you know what you have to go through, and it's pretty cool. You know, it's a rather interactive dashboard. If you click on certain sections, they all adjust. Volume count, chapter count. Now, because we have averages, we're clicking on single things. That will affect it, but yeah, it's pretty interactive. Summit War Arc, 10%. Whole Cake Island. I think this is one of the more underrated arcs. Alabasta for me is where I feel like the story really actually started. You had like the transitionary arcs with Whiskey Peak and Logtown, but Mocktown, and all of them. But I feel like once you really got to Alabasta, Miss Wednesday, her interactions and her character development, along with everything that's going on, I feel like that is really what sets the story in motion. It gives readers something to think about, because in the background we're all thinking about, okay, the One Piece, but here we actually get some direction on what it might take to actually gather that from a mysterious, bone-breaking, cowboy hat-wearing archaeologist, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, a little bit break from the data engineering part. I have a lot more planned when it comes to analytics, but this is just a start. If you like the series or you like this video, really appreciate if you could hit the thumbs up and subscribe for more great content. But until then, Taicho, we out.